7 o'clock. Want to read the thing? I'm opening the meeting and you may read.
Okay, so the notices in the papers regarding the second hearing, so I'm just gonna, this is a continuation of a hearing for 0 Isley Hill Road. The applicant through their attorneys has submitted a letter dated October 17, 2024 to the zoning board, and they have respectfully requested to withdraw the application without prejudice. Requested the board vote to approve the withdrawal without prejudice at its October 30th meeting. Thank you for your time and consideration. I believe somebody's, Benjamin?
Yeah, I'm Ben Roberts, I'm from Newtown and Casa on behalf of Craig Hutner. The applicant just needs more time to think about what's going on, not ready to move forward with anything, so that's why we're asking to withdraw without prejudice.
Okay, thank you.
So we have 4 people, which is a quorum. And we don't need to,
So I think we can close the hearing. We have to vote, close the hearing, and then we can deliberate if we need to, then we can vote to accept the withdrawal without prejudice.
Okay.
I make a motion to close the hearing.
second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
That's it.
Okay, no, not yet.
Yeah,
That's right.
And now I make another motion
Yeah.
that the 0 Isley Hill Road application through the attorneys on behalf of Craig Cutner for 0 Isley Hill Road, respectfully request to withdraw the application without prejudice, and I move that we approve that.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
4 votes.
Okay,
all right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay, that's the fastest I ever.
Really? Wow, that was 90 seconds.
Yeah, that's the
All right.
3rd time round.
Okay, so now we can open the public hearing. This was published in the paper on October 16th and 23rd, 2024. For the West Newbury Zoning Board of Appeals, Wednesday, October 30th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Beginning at 7 p.m., the West Newbury Zoning Board of Appeals will conduct a public meeting to consider other relief regarding an administrative appeal. Applicant Richard Baker of 288 Middle Street is appealing the building commissioner's decision with regard to 290 Middle Street map R22 Lot 2. This meeting will be held at the town buildings office and 2nd floor hearing room, 381 Main Street, West Newbury. For access, look at the website. This meeting is being held live, in person, and remote. I'm not sure if there's anybody. Okay. Is the administrative appeal to appeal the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for 290 Middle Street. And the applicant is Richard Baker.
I don't know what to do in this case.
You do.
I don't know. So you want to present the case?
My friend.
Yeah.
Bill Studzinski, representing Richard and Lisa Baker. Yeah, as the application says, we're here to appeal the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. Because it runs contrary to this board's decision the last time we were here, that required the developer to construct proper drainage for the site. And that would require him to go to the Conservation Commission and get that approvals there to lay a pipe underneath the existing driveway at the site, so that water would run off away from my client's property to where it had historically gone, to the other side of the property, the other side of the driveway. There has been work done to alleviate drainage, but it only funnels water towards my client's property. I don't know if this is a picture of what exists now.
Yeah.
And that's the work that has been done, and this is my client's property on this side, this is where the water is asked to go, and have it constructed. We don't believe that the certificate of occupancy should have been issued because the building inspector didn't have the authority to do it without the developer, Mr. Gorman, having gone through the process with the Conservation Commission and construct the appropriate drainage. And, for that reason, we think that the certificate of occupancy should be revoked as it was not properly issued.
I'm curious as to who else is here. You gentlemen in the back,
Yeah, I'm John Warren.
Okay.
Jack, well, my son Jack.
Okay.
Jack's the owner of the property.
okay. And you, young lady,
Lisa, Rich Baker's wife.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you have something to say, sir?
Sure. Sam Jocelyn, the Western Rebuilding Inspector. So at that, I believe it was a June or July decision, it was determined that there was a drainage issue. There was discussion of how that could be addressed. It was written into the decision. There's more than one way to skin a cat. The drainage issue appears to be repaired or addressed on or after the August 8th rainstorm. Myself, Paul Kelly, not Paul Kelly, sorry, looking at
TPW,
Paul Spigney.
Yeah. 2024,
Yeah,
this past August.
No, 23,
23,
right after the
Yeah,
decision.
yeah, that was in June of 23, okay.
So me and Paul Spigney, not Paul Kelly,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, looking at the nameplate, and Michelle Green, the conservation agent at the time, went out, took a look after a heavy rain event. There was no siltation additionally into the drainage ditch along the roadway. So along with seeing that drainage issue was addressed coming off the hill, the permit issued by the DPW director for the driveway with stone underneath. I felt that it met the intent of the zoning board's decision. I reached out to town council to see if that was reasonable. They felt it was, so there was my decision.
And that was from 2023,
Yes.
and, all right, and then, let me do a quick read into the record. Let me see. So the Jack Gorman and John Gorman.
Yeah.
Submitted a letter to the building inspector, building commissioner. Supplement to the request for a certificate of occupancy for the property on September 24th, 2024. They issued a temporary, so far Western Ways issued a temporary occupancy permit. And on a 90-day temporary pending approval of driveway drainage, and an explanation, the reason for the issuance. Before property West Newbury zoning board of appeals decision dated June 28th, 2023. We have now had a chance to review the ZBA decision for the first time, notwithstanding its lack of notice issue. And the certain findings regarding the driveway opening construction, the decision was that exceeded the authority of the ZBA. We find it to be wholly without effect because it was never properly recorded at the Essex Self-District Registry of Deeds by the applicant and returned to the town as required in the decision, therefore we request unconditional CO be issued for the property. Upon plain reading of the decision, it's evident that the condition precedent for the decision to take effect is that it to be put at the registry. The last paragraph on page 10 of the decision states it's basically relists the reporting requirements. A review of the records of the registry confirms that the decision has never been recorded as required by the ZBA and therefore is not in effect. We request an unconditional CO be issued immediately, signed John Gorman and CC Checkle. So I can, that's a letter from the director butter. And just to respond to that letter, the forms we use to write our decisions on are in Word document. And the format is already set up like a template. And the wording on that for the requiring the recording is typical that you find in the decision for a variance. Unfortunately, we didn't catch it. That was left on the administrative appeal. It's not required to be recorded at the registry. It's recorded and it's date stamped and submitted to the town clerk. It's on file. So that was an issue as far as that. That's why I don't believe legally that nullifies anything because an administrative decision isn't required to be recorded like a variance is for a special permit. Because they run with the land and it carries on, so. So we're not required to record them. But that was left on in error. So that could be corrected. So that's in response to that, just to speak to that. All right,
There's one thing that Sam said, as far as different ways to skin a cat for the drainage. I think it was one way to skin the cat, because it was already decided, how the drainage was going to be, handled, and that was in the decision, prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy, the building commissioner will require that Mr. Gorman will prefer additional permitting through the West Newbury Conservation Commission to obtain an order of conditions to permit. We've already been over the drainage requirements in the last meeting, and I don't think the building inspector had the authority to take it upon himself to determine that, the measures that, Mr. Gorman had, installed were sufficient to handle the problem. At the point of the board's decision, that discretion was taken away from the inspector, because he had directions right from this board, as to how to proceed. And, we don't believe that certificate of occupancy should have been issued unless it followed the letter of this decision.
So he's right, that took the authority away, but if that was given back to me by the Stormwater Water Authority, Paul Spigney, who was appointed by the planning board as our stormwater authority. Michelle Green, who is the conservation agent, felt it was more of a detriment to put that in and would require additional process versus working uphill where she already had the Conservation Commission had already approved. And being the stormwater enforcement agent, again, I felt that was maybe a suggestion or even an overstep by the board respectfully. That again, without any type of engineering or looking at this, the issue was drainage and siltation, and that's been addressed, so.
But didn't you, I may misunderstand, but didn't you say it was up to the Conservation Commission to handle that? And then they did say it was okay.
So Michelle was concerned about the siltation from the runoff.
Yeah.
With the runoff being addressed, there was no additional siltation, so she would felt that that was a solution for conservation.
Okay.
Can I say so, just trying to figure out how we got here. And with all due respect, what the authority of the board has for the driveway construction. When we apply for the building permit, there's a few things that we have to actually supply, right? And one of them is the driveway opening permit that's issued by the DPW. Town bylaw is very specific, that's the awarding authority for that permit.
Mhm.
I don't see anywhere in that town bylaw that this board has the authority, respectfully saying.
So,
You know, I've been struggling with this and how there was two issues brought up by the appellant, and one was, the illusory frontage that, wasn't actually applicable anymore because there had been an order of conditions issued, and the second one was they're trying to shove it in under the stormwater bylaw, and you guys denied both of those. But then there were findings there that you directed these certain things. Can I finish?
it was because at the time, things were not working like they are now. When this happened,
I hear you.
there was
but it's
runoff
very specific in
association
the town bylaw.
out into the raw.
Right, so they delegated to you guys? Is that,
Nope,
okay,
nope.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out
So-
how we got here.
But my purpose tonight is not to argue over that.
I agree.
We want to address the issues and move forward. So I'm just telling you at the time, there were issues. And as we get into it more, I know when we went and looked at the site over a year ago. What I would call, I guess it was 6-inch minus riprap that you put in.
Yeah.
It's since been replaced with boulders and rocks of
No.
substantial size all the way down so that they don't wash out.
So the crossing is for the town land, and that was,
I
the permit was issued.
understand. I understand that. So what I'm
I'm
saying
not
is,
trying to be pedantic, I just want to tell you.
Yeah. So at the time, the riprap was not sufficient and you had silt and runoff that was going out into the ditch and it was going out in the roadway during heavy rains, I stood there and watched it, I videotaped it, and it was not sufficient. What was permitted to go under the driveway was not handling the flow. What was constructed with crushed stone under the driveway at the time did not seem to work. So that was based off of observations from them. You're right in some of your points, and I think tonight we can move ahead, and this was like a year ago. The site doesn't look the same as it did a year ago. And I think whatever I saw a year ago, this is from my perspective, there was 6 inch minus and a riprap swale on the left-hand side of the driveway going up the hill. That was somewhat handling the water flow. What you've done since is there's large boulders and rocks in the swale that do not move or wash out. They completely handle whatever flow you have. When it comes down, the water comes down and it dissipates and it does not go out under the roadway. I don't see any new signs of silt or washout or anything. So I've gone and looked at it. So the issue, you know, that's my perspective. We were just had concerns, you know, so did we, I don't know whether we overstepped or not. People come to us all the time to give variances and do things like that. So we made a decision. So tonight we can move forward with whatever information we have here and move forward. So I don't want to argue from a year ago. If at the end of the night, you don't agree with it, our decision, you can argue those points and I'll be happy to, you know, you can move ahead. But I think we need to vet out everything for tonight. Tonight's a different day, new information, looking at the site and feedback. So that, you know, I mean, like that, you know, I can't say what direction everybody else is gonna go in, but I am looking at it in a different light. And my opinion, when I might as well say it now, is I think the crossing falls under the DPW director who issues the driveway opening permit, but it also goes under the road commissioners for the select board. Because they're the ones who maintain the safety with the highway superintendent, with the safety in the public right of way. And then conservation have to deal with the silt and the runoff, and Sam would oversee the stormwater. That would be an issue going into the ditch or out into the roadway if it was a safety issue causing icing or anything else. So my perspective now is different than a year ago. I had concerns for safety. It's been a whole year. I've gone out there in the fall. I've gone out there and looked in the winter. I haven't seen ice sheeting across the street. I haven't seen silt out on the road like it was over a year ago. Like, well, you know, back in early 2003, there was silt out on the road. I don't see that now. So I have a different perspective than I did a year ago, June. Okay, so that's my perspective on the public record saying.
So a year ago, June, if I just could finish, a year ago, June, there had not been the stormwater infiltration system we had put in up on top of that hill. So we put a 12-inch main across that hill, we put.
Okay, let me catch up to John. So you have an infiltration system on site
Correct, so there is a,
that directs the water away from the swale?
it comes across the hill on the top, not down the bottom.
Okay, so that's
What's
the
running
difference.
down that hill now?
I'm like, what do they do? They
What's
turn the
running down
water
that hill now is sheet drainage from the driveway and just from that small section on the
Okay.
side.
So that's all the difference in the.
Everything else gets captured, goes down a 6-inch under drain into a 24-inch, 30-inch collector. There's a 12-inch pipe, we've showed all this to Mr. Baker, that comes down and goes across the lot, takes all the water that comes from Mr. Baker's lot, that comes onto my lot, and goes that way. No more of that goes down that hill.
Okay,
That's the difference.
that's a clear difference. I mean, because
I walked Mr. Baker through this with his brother.
We're just gonna talk to the board and not go to each other.
I was talking to you.
Thank you.
So,
I just was gonna bring up the points that he did, that don't know if the board was aware of the infiltration system that captures the majority of the water at the top of the hill that runs off from the back of the property. So just was, I didn't, know if anyone had entered the property.
No.
After.
No, just from the street.
So yeah, it's not just the stone and riprap, it's a pipe.
That would be an overstep without Mr. Bowman's permission.
when was that installed?
When?
Yeah.
It was going on when you guys had the meeting
Okay,
last year.
Okay.
It wasn't active, but it was going on at that time, a year ago.
Okay.
I had looked up, because we went up me, Michelle, and Paul went up in August. Because there was a significant rain event.
The gully washer.
And we were very concerned, so I printed a map of the rainfalls for August 7th and 8th. Which show us anywhere in West Newbury, depending on the collection point, 2 to 3.5 inches of water. And that was the day where we found there was no siltation, no. If you'd like the pretty pictures, show how much rain we got that storm, but. While waiting for the meeting, I was just curious how much on that date we actually got, and it was a significant rainfall.
So where's the beef?
I show the picture from August 18th, 2023.
Okay,
I don't have this printed out, I can provide it. But you can see the overflow of muddy water across Middle Street. Going down that driveway.
okay,
Can I finish?
go ahead.
August 18th, 2023.
A year
With
ago,
all due respect to all the engineering talk, that ship has sailed. This is a legal issue now. The board has made a decision requiring Mr. Dormer to go to the Conservation Commission to address the drainage issue. And the idea was there would be a pipe underneath the driveway and the water would go on the other side of the driveway. That was what my client was relying on. And if we thought that he could do something different that would be approved by the town, then we would have appealed the decision. But the board, I thought, made a very good decision, denied our initial request at the time to revoke the building permit, but issued the decision that a certificate of occupancy would only be issued after the proper procedures through the Conservation Commission in an order of conditions. We were relying on that. So I don't think anybody, and none of the officials that the inspector has named takes any authority away from the board and the board's decision. At that point, I mean, it becomes nonsense for us to even be here if behind closed doors, other town officials can make other decisions apart from what we relied on that the board had already decided and do something different. Otherwise, we don't have any ability to appeal. So now we're here just asking the board to enforce the decision that it already made. And as far as the board's authority, I mean, chapter 48, section 14 gives the board the authority of any official whose decisions have been appealed. So the board has the authority of the building inspector to make any findings and condition any approvals or permits or certificates of occupancy in this case, as it may deem fit.
just to the attorney's point. It's not Sam's decision that would have been an appeal, it would have been the decision to issue the driveway permit. Not Sam. Sam has no authority with the driveway permit. Sam's authority is for, and this board gets its authority from Sam too. Whatever he has purview over, this board can review. Sam doesn't have purview over the driveway opening permit. I know this is something I argued before, and I'm not looking to lengthen this.
That's not the issue is the occupancy. Or
So,
the driveway.
Right, so a year ago, the administrative appeal was to pull the building permit. That would have, if we had approved it, it would have stopped you from building the house.
Correct, and then we would have had the argument over whether you had the authority to do it at that point. Right?
Which we do for
I hear
building
you.
permit.
Well,
And this
For building permit?
The June decision wasn't appealed.
hang on,
Wait a minute, for a building permit, we definitely do, because it's under his purview.
I let you finish,
Yeah.
You do, you can do that, but the authority you would have done under would have been the driveway permit, and that was not under your purview. That's what you would have done it under.
Right, it wouldn't have been under the
Well,
driveway permit.
that was the fix.
The appeal was for the building permit. His appeal, administrative appeal was for the building permit due to the issues at the site. So if we had approved his appeal, we would have denied your building permit and you would have been stopped from building the house a year ago.
Mhm.
It had nothing to do with the driveway permit.
Well,
It doesn't, because we wouldn't, it would have been over the driveway permit, it would have been over the building permit that we would have approved the
But
appeal,
why would you grant the building permit?
because the unsafe
because-
conditions at the roadway.
Because you don't think the driveway permit was accurate, something like that. So.
No,
look at that.
because you're,
We're not gonna get anywhere on.
yeah, no, so the feeling, I'll tell you exactly where I was a year ago. A year ago was, you drive through town and anywhere where they have country drainage, which we have through town,
Mhm.
and it's a ditch. I don't know how many places you'll find that it's a crushed stone under a new driveway. They all have culverts.
Can I address that?
I'm just,
Can I address that?
you just asked me not to interrupt you, I'm asking the same. A year ago, I went around through town, any place where people cross the drainage ditch, the majority of them, people are required to put in culverts to let the flow go through under the new driveway, so that nothing's impeded. When there were issues going on, we thought that was part of the issue,
Mhm.
okay? That was over a year ago. So my stance now is I'm looking at something that I thought that was gonna be a long-term issue at that site a year ago. I'm looking at it now and I'm seeing the issues that we were concerned about. I don't think I've heard about a icing issue or an accident or water flowing over. You know, the siltation looks about the same, so my concerns from a year ago are different. Okay, so. And you have points that are valid, but also, you know, we're looking at this out of a safety standpoint. You know, and if it wasn't getting addressed, the board at the time, based on what we observed, and the majority voted to deny the appeal, but and do some kind of enforcement that seemed to be required at the time, a year ago. A year has gone by, and I think the setting is different.
Mhm.
Okay, so my opinion is different. I can tell you that now. I think I've spoken enough, I think, but, and it's just, you know, at the time, we got feedback from the conservation agent, we got feedback from Sam Jocelyn, and people, the DPW, the person who issued the driveway permit wasn't here anymore. We have a new DPW superintendent, Michelle Green, and I believe when your driveway was permitted, was that before Michelle? Or, it was permitted before Michelle. We're two conservation agents later. We have Clay Hutchinson now. And we're one DPW superintendent later with Butch Hills. Okay, so I did reach out through Jen, reached out to the conservation agent. And he did send me an email related to the site. So when we left the meeting over a year ago, we were told that they're gonna, conservation, the DPW superintendent, and Sam were gonna stay on top of this project. And if it was causing issues, it would be addressed by stop work orders and other things. That's written into the minutes and into the decision and the findings. Oop. Maybe I did print it out after I did. Hang on. You do that. Must have left it. Did we print it out?
On that first page.
There we go. Yeah, the next page, this one. There we go. Yeah, all right, so here's from Clay Hutchinson from today, October 30th, 3:22 p.m. ZBA members, the order of conditions for 290 Middle Street, DEP file 78-725 was extended in June 2024 to December 30th, 2024. As such, the order of conditions is still open and valid for this project. Well, any minor deviations in the project will be captured in the process of issuing a certificate of compliance under the Wetland Protections Act. The site has remained in substantial compliance with the order conditions as the request for the extension in June. Please let me know if you have any further questions or would like additional information. Signed, Clay Hutchinson, Conservation Agent. So that tells me that everything's in order from the conservation standpoint. Sam, as the stormwater and building commissioner, has told me things are in order. So it's different than a year ago. I think a lot of the concerns have been abated. And I was not aware that there was an infiltration system put in, but it was a marked, to me, it was a visibly marked difference from over a year ago, so. Okay, so I think I've talked to any other board members any information?
Want to clarify that we need to, the decision being recorded, you know, that's.
No, so, and we can check the town council, but that was inadvertently left on.
Yep.
The decision that was meant for a variance.
Yeah.
And it doesn't belong in administrative appeal, because they don't need to be recorded. They are filed at a public ended repository. The town clerk is a public repository and it's date stamped, and I have a copy of that.
I was just gonna comment to Pat, and that all the issues have been resolved. We've not had any significant rain in about a year now. I've been digging fence posts, and you go down 3 feet and it's still dust. So the drainage hasn't really been tested since the August storm that Sam referred to, that I showed you the picture of the water coming off of the driveway.
That was August 18th, correct?
August 18th, 2020.
And what did you look at?
That one was an August 8th storm.
Yes,
And myself, Paul and Michelle went out, I believe, August 9th.
Yeah.
Or even August 8th during the storm or just after, because I think it was a morning storm. And we're just viewing sites around town.
okay. So I don't know if the 18th was a stronger storm than the 8th or what.
Here are the pictures from the 8th.
Okay.
Okay, so,
And I'm happy to provide these for the record if you'd like.
Can I show you guys something?
yes,
Sam, that's the 8th. Sorry, that's okay. Thanks.
So this is a video of part of the infiltration system on a storm that's not quite as heavy as the 8th or the 18th. Because I think those were both 4 inches almost, something like that. So this is just part of the infiltration system. So that's all the water that would usually go down.
Go
that
down the
driveway.
swale, yeah.
And that's continuous all day.
Yep.
So that's a French drain that runs 150 feet up the side of my driveway on top of the hill, right by the house. There's a 6-inch pipe, 4 feet of crushed stone that goes into a 30-inch collector. There's another one that comes up the hill, you know, the driveway's going up, but the pipe's going down, that comes in, that all goes out a 12-inch that goes across my property, away from the swale.
Yep.
So all of
Can we
those
see that?
gallons, yeah.
Thank you, Ruth. I haven't seen it. So this is at the top of the hill,
Yeah,
not the bottom.
so that is.
So we don't know the effect that this is any at all, that this might.
That's the water
This
that we
water was what was going down the hill before, and we've stopped that from going down the hill now.
But at this point, you don't have an example of what happened at that time down at the bottom, which is our concern.
I'm not really sure what you just said.
Okay, so this is what you did at the top of the hill. Top of the driveway.
Yeah, that is captured.
And we don't see anything, and how that works at the simultaneously with the water flow at the bottom of the hill, even with that runoff that you caused, that you changed at the top.
So instead of going back and forth to each other, if I can just ask you to talk through the chairman, that'll.
Okay, thank you.
It's a lot easier that way for protocol.
what you started,
I asked them to talk through you
sure,
and not to each other, so. we
I
don't-
guess my point is that water has always been our issue. It's, a grating and a pipe that's on Mr. Baker's property that comes through the woods onto my property. That when the wetlands get overloaded at the top, siphons off and comes over to my property. I captured almost all of that water that was going down the hill before. And now is going and continue on its path that it was going before, where it just continued down the hill across my property.
To the
I put it
wetlands
back
at
to
the
the woods,
bottom.
I put it back over there.
Okay.
That was coming down the hill and now it is not. There's,
Sheet drains coming down the hill and some from that wetland and from that area.
and there is a driveway drain across the driveway, so anything above that hits the driveway drain, goes into that, goes to the woods. So it's just the hill, sheet drainage, and whatever hits the stones themselves that is going down the driveway.
This is the last section of the driveway,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Describe for me the driveway drainage.
The driveway drainage in totality
No, at the bottom.
at the bottom.
It's, you know,
That was just a-
Have you seen it with this large stone swale on the left and crushed stone on the right?
okay.
You can see it in this photo.
Now, does it flow away from his property?
It flows down to the street and it's in the
None of
right,
that water,
it's in the right, it's in the ditch that's in the right of way, it's not on.
Right.
The water has never gone onto the private property, it's in the drainage
Correct.
ditch that's out in the right
I
of
get
way.
it. All right. So that, you've invested a fair amount of money in this drainage system. Pardon?
$60,000.
If you put a few thousand at the bottom of a pipe, would that make him happy?
Yeah,
But I'm not doing that.
Okay,
We put $60,000 into water that runs onto his lot from his lot.
right, I understand that.
no, the water starts on his wetlands, on his property, comes across a corner of our property to a swale that's been there since we own the property so it's a 40-year-old swale that then kicks it over.
Okay. So how much of this water that you showed me in the picture is on your property and not on property?
It's coming into the swale in front of our property. It's, the silt has filled that in, what used, it's probably a foot or so or two of silt, I haven't measured it, in the swale.
There is no more swell.
Yeah,
So
it's practically flat, right?
Did you kill the plants there, the trees and the
Sure,
red maples?
No, Maple's a little further back.
I thought maples were on town property.
Yeah, they
some,
are, they are.
Okay. Well, how recent was this picture?
2 days ago, maybe.
So, I don't see it filled in swale.
Was that structure permitted through the Conservation Commission? Was it designed, prepared, and presented to them? I don't,
Well, I'm
From
trying,
the email from Clay Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Everything is in line with the permit, the DEP file permit. So I imagine Michelle Green was pretty meticulous
how
before
long has she been gone?
the spring. Was it this spring then? It was before you got,
So when this was completed, she was gone.
she was here through the spring. And then Clay started immediately.
but I don't, was that design presented to them? Or did they just,
Yeah.
was it built and then they went out to look at it after?
I can't answer, you'd have to ask the conservation, but from what's on their plans, what's on the site, the conservation agent is saying everything is in order per the email he sent today.
I'm still trying to figure out what you're concerned about, because none of this is on your property.
It's in front of our
I
property.
understand that.
So the drainage just goes to the left, and then there's a culvert that goes under the roadway that takes the water across the street. And then
But
it does the same thing in two directions.
it's rerouting the water that used to flow north on Middle Street is now flowing.
Right there at the driveway.
And how does that affect you or your property? I don't get that.
Well, as it continues to fill in the
There,
swale,
dries out.
And it's not still town property. I don't understand
if
what you're
somebody
concerned
put-
about.
started
If you're
building-
really concerned about not having a house next to your house, that's
No,
one thing.
they built a very nice house there.
Okay,
I just, we presented this, we have a ruling that they're gonna put the pipe under there so the water flows where it should, and you know,
I mean,
I
you,
would've
you
appealed
spent
for
so much thousands of dollars in land for it and bill that you could have said, hey, I'll pay for a pipe under their property. You'd be all better off. I've been in a similar situation with my neighbor, so I understand the economics here. I just don't get, I mean, I've been in land court recently. It's ridiculous, the amount of money. They say, hey, I'll put a pipe under your driveway. $8,000, whatever, you'd be way ahead.
1,000 compared to 60,000 is nothing.
You know,
The Queen's the dealer.
I think the point is though, I mean, we relied on this decision. We were satisfied with the design of a pipe going underneath, funneling water to the other side of that driveway. That was the basis of our decision not to appeal the fact that you essentially denied our appeal the last time to revoke the building permit. So now that something else has been done, perhaps it works, perhaps it doesn't. But you seem to be, from an engineering standpoint, everybody seems to be satisfied with it, but it's not an engineering issue anymore. It's the fact that you issued a decision saying something different than what exists on the ground now.
I don't see that.
Okay, so I understand. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I guess the economics of it, it wasn't $60,000 or $1,000. The $60,000 had to be spent either way because of all the water that came down from my property to his property, to his swale and pipe to my property.
Right.
That had to be spent. But I think it's spent, the side of the driveway would be a disaster, it'd be eroded every single year. Just having a culvert underneath that driveway, if that's all we did, we would just have a built-in swale on the other side.
Okay.
So we went ahead and we would proactively drain that water away, so that it was clean water leaving the site and going into the woods. It's not 1,000 versus 60, it's
Can I,
the next straw.
we probably shouldn't get too detailed into engineering construction issues, but, it sounds like with during construction, because of temporary condition, where the runoff of the site changed, temporarily, right? You put the road, you put the driveway in, that took the water and shed it down to the left. With the new work of infiltration, and now you're allowing what appears to be the vast majority of that water to follow its natural path back to where it was, shedding in the same direction it was. So from again, we're not looking at drawings here, and I think anyone of us can make an engineering decision, but the remaining, if the vast majority of the water is now restored to the watershed in the direction that it was going to originally through your work, then I would imagine the waterfall that would make it down the swale is only the waterfall that was originally happening before the project was there. Does that sound correct?
How is that measured?
How is that measured? If the infiltration structure they put in, which was,
But there was no measurement from before, and there's no measurement now, there
and it's not,
aren't volumes that you
It's not.
can compare.
So, and the infiltration system is 500 feet more or less up the driveway. And I believe that was in place and working with the, 2 August storm pictures that I showed you, which had the massive water coming down the driveway, filling the swale and coming on the middle street.
With all due respect, Rich, that was why that water came down, that was not
It
inoperable.
wasn't up.
I showed it to you guys, I showed it to you and your brother.
Yeah. But
You were still
we-
building.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna ask you,
Stop,
to please talk to the chairman.
They came up. Rich and his brother came up, we showed him all this stuff, it was not operable. The pictures that he's showing you, it wasn't operable till sometime in September that year.
Okay,
Okay, I mean, I've got no way to dispute that. I'm not, I trust you, John, you on that.
what, Say that again.
No, I said I trust John's judgment that his system wasn't operable.
Okay. So,
We have, Mr. Chairman, we have had some storms in the past year.
Yeah.
Those two storms that happened last August were a 4-inch storm one week, a 4-inch storm next week. There were problems all over this town.
Okay.
There were problems all over this town, right? But we have had storms since that thing has been operable, and we haven't had the issues that happened during those August storms.
thank you. Any further
I'm
discussion?
gonna hit the hornet's nest. When I looked at his driveway, I looked at your driveway too.
My driveway is designed, when it works, for the water to go off into the fields. But we get a good storm and it does cut through there. I know,
So from,
and if you have suggestions.
I don't, I just saying from
I work and grade that.
practical standpoint, I've looked at both. And they're operating very similarly and handle majority of what I'm seeing when it rains and I go by there. If the water goes into the drainage ditch, country drainage in the drainage ditch, it takes it to a culvert that goes under the roadway. None of the water is flooding onto your private property, it's uphill from the drainage ditch. I don't, it's not, I don't see anything detrimental from what I'm observing now. My concerns from over a year ago, a lot of them are abated based off of not thinking that the drainage can handle it. I think it was because sorry, I have breathing issues in the smokes and I can't breathe, yeah. So, I'm not sick. It'd probably be best if I just stopped talking, and you guys would be a lot happier. So, so I had already said it earlier, a lot of what I was concerned about a year ago and the problems that were visible are much abated, and I have to go by what the conservation agent, stormwater agent, and building commissioner are saying things are in order. The other thing is, if there is an issue where there's flooding or icing or any issues in the later where the drainage system isn't working right, I'm quite sure that the person who's in charge of the driveway opening permit, the DPW director, and the roadway commissioners was the select board, and the conservation agent, if there's issues with siltation and things that can address any issues that can happen later if there's a blowout or a failure. I think those are the people you can go to, because you're going right to the source or for the driveway permit on the public property. Is the DPW director, and it's the roadway commissioners for safety. If there's an issue where there's a drainage failure and icing and you're having accidents out there, those are the people who go through public safety, you document it and move forward. I don't know at this point if, like, I don't feel comfortable pulling occupancy for it if all the board members are telling me everything's been addressed. From before a year ago when I saw siltation and runoff going out into the road in the drainage ditch. That's not the case that I can see now, and when I randomly drive by, and I do go by quite a bit.
The reason I filed this a year ago was to give the Gormans a chance. They only had the top layer of the driveway down to make it as least expensive for them, give them plenty of time to resolve this. I know the only remedy really is to pull an occupancy permit, which is fairly draconian. But that's why I came here a year ago to get this resolved in the early stages, when it would have been relatively painless for them to fix that. And I just haven't understood why that ruling hasn't been adhered to in over a year. I don't want to hurt my neighbors, I just don't want the water that never was in front of our house, in front of our house. I want it moved in the way it always has been.
Okay, so we've been focused mainly on enforcement of the zoning board decision, which is your number one in your application. And then revoking the occupancy permit is number 3. So number 2, you're reasserting all allegations in the application from 4/6/23 related to illusory frontage. And that case is. That case is outdated. We already handled that a year ago.
But
And there was a they filed through DP They got a DEP file number approved through conservation. They gave them actual access and the right to access over the wetlands with the driveway crossing. And then they went and did a new A&R plan. And then the A&R plan that was done incorrectly, that was signed and that you took to the land court and it got rescinded. They corrected it per the judge's order. They went and filed through DEP and conservation and filed a DEP permit. Then they went and did a new A&R plan and it referenced the crossing per the DEP file number. So the new A&R plan completely mutes your argument of illusory frontage anymore. So I'm not gonna go backwards. We already saw that. We spent an awful lot of time on that over a year ago. And as far as costs and fees involved, I don't think we're a judge and jury, and we don't award damages here. So I'm very uncomfortable with that request from us for your number 4. So those are 4 issues. So there's 4 issues on the applications that were listed. And, and 1 is enforce the zoning board decision, 2 is reassert the allegations from the previous application. 3 is revoke your occupancy permit. 4 is they want cost and fees associated with their appeal. So. Any further discussion, Chairman?
Is there any further discussion?
I guess I just want clarity. I know you got the memo from the Conservation Commission that everything seemed to be copacetic in their action. Was there any specific reference to the actual design plan for the structure that was built?
No, you referenced the DEP file number, which incorporates everything that was permitted in the design.
But that file number was assigned
From the
a
DEP.
while ago. Yeah, before any of the design work before any of the work on this drainage was done. Right? I mean, the case is open, like you said.
For them to be able
But
to do the work.
has the Conservation Commission did they actually see the plan ahead of time?
Ahead of time of what?
Before it was built?
I think they had to approve it for them to get a DEP file number. And it wasn't just conservation, it went to the DEP, right?
No.
And they're gonna
For the work that they built for the drainage work that wasn't there when the Conservation Commission case was open.
The Conservation Commission file is still open and ongoing. It's been extended through December.
Right, but it was
The
open.
issue a year ago was that the drainage that was built on the top of the site, I don't know what they've done for permitting. We're talking about a focus up at the bottom.
Right, and what I'm saying is did they have the opportunity to actually review the plan for what has been built before it was built?
I would say that if the conservation agent is saying, I know they had Michelle Green a year ago. That was constructed with the crushed stone under the driveway. She was active last year and she was right on top of it. I'm sure if something was different than the design plans, they would have stopped them at that time. I'm gonna speak to what they have or haven't done, but I know it's been permitted and there's been oversight very strongly from.
What has been permitted?
Whatever work they've done in the wetland buffer areas, in the wetlands. Right, for the DEP file number, they would have had to permit everything, but they did. That's my understanding of how it works. Generically,
Well, have they got a certificate of compliance then?
I think they're moving towards that sometime in December. They got an extension through December to get their as-bills and whatever else they have to get in order and filing. And it said in the email that they got an extension and that they were working towards the certificate of
Yeah, I
compliance.
mean, I guess I'm.
So if there's anything on the site that's not in compliance with the DEP file number, I'm sure that'll come up when they go to get the, yeah, it's a COC, right? Certificate of completion or from the DEP. I haven't done anything like that in a long time, so it's a COC.
But it seems to me that in compliance with your decision already. I mean, I read it as requiring almost a separate filing for that drainage structure in front of the Conservation Commission, and it doesn't sound to me like there was such a separate filing.
Nope,
Okay,
because a year ago, I don't think the infiltration system was working, and we thought they needed a culvert under the driveway to handle the flow. The flow is not the same as it was over a year ago. Visually, completely different at the bottom. So it seemed like you needed a culvert.
But to
handle
not, to not enforce this now, you'd effectively be amending your decision.
right, so if we get to the point where wherever we get, I might make a motion to do that.
So my client's reliance on the decision that you made back a year and a half ago is useless?
I would say the circumstances are different because the site is different. Is the silt coming out into the road? Is the water running out into the road like it was over a year ago? It's not the same as it was.
For a comparable storm, it would do the same thing.
So I was told a year ago that Michelle Green and then now Clay Hutchinson, the conservation agent, and Sam would be monitoring to make sure if there are any issues, they would be addressed. And from my understanding is that everything has been addressed. And is per their concerns and the drainage is being handled adequately. Otherwise, you would be hearing from the roadway commissioners, they would be hearing from the roadway commissioners, the DPW superintendent and conservation agent.
And that's fine, and they're all concerned about that engineering. I'm concerned about the legal effect of this decision that you guys made, that the board made, I'm sorry for that, that the board made.
Yep.
That my client has been relying on since. I mean, either your decisions mean something or they don't. I guess I'm trying to figure out.
That decision was made at a moment in time. Based off of situational site issues at the time. Those issues have changed, same as with the illusory frontage. They didn't have a DEP file number, so the A&R plan wasn't correct.
Right.
They went and got filed through DEP, then they can move ahead with A&R.
Right.
That changed the decision of the planning board. Okay, so we're over a year and 3 or 4 months later. The issues have been addressed that were concerned of why we thought you needed a culvert. Okay, we thought because it was crushed stone, it wasn't handling the water, and that's why we're going.
I
the road.
understand the
So
engineering.
that issue has changed. I think it's a different moment in time. And the board can review a decision and change it. Right?
But you're.
Do we have
What has changed is a year with heavy rains and a drought. And you're saying there's no problem in a drought year. There's no problems anywhere in town in a drought year with runoff.
We've had some very heavy rainstorms throughout this year. And I have a roadway that dumps out onto my edge of my driveway, and I have gravel that washes out. And we've had some very heavy rainstorms this year. Like I would almost call them like gully washers. And we have, in between the sections of drought, there's been, if you have drought and then you have a gully washer, and it rains very heavily. I think if you look back, I don't have any dates I can give.
I just spent a few minutes looking at historicals, and we've had storms larger than August since that time.
In a drought year, it goes from drought to flood, because it's like, it can't handle the water because it's dry.
Well, what's happened on that property is there's the wetlands up above.
Correct,
our land.
up on the hill.
Right, and that, you know, for a heavy rain, that'll buffer it. Until you get those wetlands filled, which you would in a normal, March, April timeframe. They're filled, then it starts running over, coming down, and that's when the problems start happening on this particular section of Aquarius Hill.
Like I said last time, I've had this job for 150 years. I just don't get. When you're spending $50,000 or more, and I've spent $60,000. And I still don't see what your complaint is. It's flooding in front of your property, but not on your property. So you're complaining about that. You could complain about flooding in front of my property. That's not your property. It's still not your property. It's not your property. And I understand Bill's legal thing, but I was gonna say legalism, but I don't mean it that way. I mean, legal what? That things change. Crime and that, look at the Supreme Court. Well, don't look at that.
No.
Well, so anyway, that's. In the 30 years I've been doing this, I'd like to see both sides figure it out. Usually it doesn't happen. That's what I'd like to see, so that's all I have. I'll make it. So I think it's time for you to make a motion. But you know, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 sections.
I think somebody else should. Huh?
No, I think you should. You state it and I'll say, send you.
Go ahead.
Don't do that.
So what is that? Is that a motion for each of the 4 points? Address each of the 4 points?
So are you guys comfortable closing the hearing tonight?
I am comfortable.
Yes.
And
So I will close it here.
So no.
Favor closing?
In favor of closing.
4. 4 thing.
You don't. Close the hearing.
way longer than that first meeting.
Pardon?
This is way longer than that second year, that first hearing we had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that was the 3rd session.
That's okay.
That's true.
So we deliberate. And it took quite a bit of time, the last time we went through this. To parse out everything and do the findings.
We'll do 2 and 4 first, maybe.
Yeah.
Any further discussion from?
No, we closed the hearing, there's no more discussion, it's only deliberating now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chairman.
Any further discussion?
We could come down to this.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss each point?
Well, I need some findings to go along.
Language, yeah.
I need findings of fact that, we are pulling out from the information presented and or site observations. To go along with, any motions that we have, so we can support our decisions. I just need a minute to kind of get my thoughts,
Yeah.
it's not gonna flow too good. All right, so as far as like anything that we pulled out or from observations in the field. I've spoken an awful lot tonight, so I need to
Do you want to
get some other input in case you have
give
different
us
opinions.
the 4 sections, each one? And we can do findings for each topic.
Yeah, so enforcing the ZBA decision from June 28th, 2023.
So at that point in time, we were looking at a project that was under construction that had temporary measures to build the project. In my view, that changed water flow. It caused an issue, which is why this was brought to the board. The board came to the finding that they did, stating that we needed to remedy the problem before you got a building permit. Our understanding was that a culvert improvement would help. Here we are now, a year later. Other improvements have been done through infiltration uphill. We're here based on looking at historical rainfall and field state of the field and what things are looking like today, that the uphill improvements may not necessitate the need of culvert. So I think that would mean, as you said, Pat, we were looking at this at a point in time, it's a different point in times.
Prior to June 28th, 2023, there was very clear site issues and drainage issues. Looking at it now and then getting feedback from the town conservation agent the stormwater agent is also the building commissioner. It's a different moment in time. I would say it's a significant change in water flow based off of what I've seen during the storm events. And it's not to say that in the future there won't be issues,
Yeah, we should definitely,
but runoff issues on a hill. You know, whatever's coming down the driveways, you know, it's coming down everybody's driveway. Yeah. So this is drainage, right, so right now, country drainage, the water goes in the drainage on both sides of the driveway. And then drainage goes through the country drainage ditch and goes to culverts that take it onto the road and across the street and away from the site. So once the heavy rains are done, the water that's in the drainage just dissipates into the culverts and goes across the street to the wetlands across the street. And from what I can see, I don't see any water from the ditch going on to Mr. Baker's private property, because there's a hill there and a stone wall, and the water just it crosses the road on either side of that driveway and Mr. Baker's side. If the culvert was to block up and cross the road before it got into his property. Alright. Alright, with that, we have a current letter, email from the conservation agent. And everything from his email, everything's in compliance with the order of conditions. All right, and then Sam as the building commissioner. Yep. And the stormwater, is it agent or?
I am stormwater enforcement,
Alright.
is the agent.
All right, Paul's the agent, I get you now. That's why I kept saying Paul, I forgot to ask, it's a big name. Stormwater agent. Okay. You're in the enforcement. You get the strong arm everywhere, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And from your perspective, I don't know if it's appropriate to ask you to speak for Paul, but from both of there's no issues coming from, that I've noted from either one of you.
Well, I spoke to Paul this morning about it, knowing the hearing was coming, he's observed no issues. And he'd be the one to come to me for enforcement action.
Okay.
Has not.
And has there been any issues in the last, since this is June 28th, 2023? Has there been any issues on site where have the Bowmans worked with conservation and you guys, if there were any issues? throughout the year?
Didn't make any
Was the hearing closed? Was the hearing closed?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. You can. Yeah. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks, Bill.
Welcome.
I would have gleaned it from the email anyway, but what else? Anything to add? For that number?
Any additional? So that's where we know today.
That's for number one.
Right. So yeah, we're gonna stay on one, if we do find that in the future there's overtop, there's freezing, there's something, right? The remedy for that is
Roadway commissioners, the
safety,
select board,
safety concern.
DPW director and conservation.
And then the last point on that one is, I guess, I don't know if I've been on the board made to do this, but if we are amending a prior decision. Is that part of this finding?
Yeah, we could actually vote to rescind
Amend language?
amended. Yeah, right, it depends on how, I've never had to do that before, but, all right. Well, I'm not an attorney, but I believe that any board who votes on something can later revisit that vote.
To me, we were speculating on a solution.
That was, seemed to be apparently needed then.
There are other solutions to the same problem.
They found an alternative solution. Or they appear to have found an alternative solution.
Number two is reasserting, are we done with number one?
Well,
For now, just findings of fact.
this doesn't go in there, but this is another point. If the infiltration of the road wasn't improved and all that water came down the road, that would probably be a more detrimental environmental condition. Right, you want the water to go where the water always was, right? So this solution may be a better solution than taking all the water, moving its course, and then putting it under culvert. You're gonna have more of a point load. I mean, it's a side note, I'm not an engineer, I am an engineer, but I'm not saying it as an engineer. So anyway, just a side note. Anything else on item one?
So I don't have the entire application from a year ago. So the second one says reset all allegations. I know he wanted to revoke the building permit at the time, and he wanted to assert that there was illusory frontage, and I think there were some other items I don't have in front of me. Okay, awesome. Okay,
You need a copy?
that,
This is the previous application. If you want.
okay.
You just have-
Yeah, I get it.
I think it's back.
Not like-
Okay. Thank you.
You got it?
Administrative appeal against the building commissioner.
How about this?
Oh, you have it, huh? No, that's okay, you can give it back, I have this one from the town. Anyways, prevent water flow from an intermittent stream and other stormwater that previously flowed in front of 290 Middle Street from flowing in front of our property at 288. That was number one. Number two was to enforce the land court decision for illusory frontage, and then number three was to hold all permits in the above until the above issue is resolved. Okay, so it's those three. we'll keep this organized and separate and. Illusory frontage. It's not two. Revoke the building permit, we'll go with three. And one. So for reasserting all allegations in the application from 4-6, number one was to prevent water flow from an inlet stream and other stormwater that previously flowed in front of 290, flowing in front of our property at 288. So I think that first issue for to and you know, cover all these things that he's asking for. I think these were already settled, and I think the site issues are different than they were then. And that the issue of flow in front of his property is changed significantly from over a year ago. 2 was already settled over a year ago in the last hearing, as far as the frontage is actual. It's they call it, they have the right to access. And they're permitted to have the access, they have the legal right, and that it's physical and legal. As far as hold all building permits. What they're trying to do now is pull the occupancy permit, so it's like, I think that's a neat point at this point. But I think where we visited all these, it was a different site, I don't think these are directly pertinent, but we can cover them if you guys wanna. I think it's all based off a moment in time. The frontage issue is settled. The flow issue, I think we're covering with number one, based off of the change in flow and revoking the building permit. I think that due to the fact that if the people are in sync with their order of conditions and the building commissioner, stormwater, I think it's okay not to do that. So I think that answers the 3 of those. Then now it's number 3 for today. The new one is a repeat, it's revoke the occupancy permit. So it's like revoking the building permit, so they have a temporary occupancy permit, I believe. So I think the abutter is trying to comply and address the issues based off of my understanding of what's going on. And then number 4, I don't feel comfortable entertaining at all, because I'm not a judge or a jury. I don't think a zoning board awards costs and fees to anybody. I don't think that is appropriate.
I'm going to ask this gentleman a question.
You can't,
Okay. I wonder if we.
or you shouldn't.
I was
I'm
wondering,
not ever gonna tell you what to do.
I
I'm just
just
gonna tell you, I don't think that's a good idea.
okay,
So,
if he would say anything about when about being word done. Don't.
so
So we've covered 4 points.
3, yeah.
Do you, yeah, that's right, 3. Do you think we should like, 3 different motions for these 3 points in one motion?
I think we could vote them and support them with the findings of facts that we have to reach.
Individually?
Yeah,
Okay. So what would somebody move if somebody wanted to move number 1?
We accept the current conditions till proven otherwise.
I'll make a motion.
I would make a motion based off of site changes and conditions that differ from when the vote was taken on June 28, 2023. So I'm gonna.
And that's what I said.
Can you please type it, I guess, as I talk, because I'm not gonna try and write it. Okay, the June 28th, 2023, due to the change in the site conditions and the, the installation of uphill drainage infiltration system that has diverted the majority of the water that once went down and caused issues. And that they're in compliance with the order of conditions per the conservation agent, per the stormwater enforcement agent, and the stormwater agent. The building commissioner, it said that the abutter at 290 is in compliance with the Wilmans. That I would reconsider, make a vote that we reconsider our vote from June 28th, 2023, related to requiring permitting and installation of a culvert due to the fact that the drainage is currently apparently being adequately handled.
Yeah.
And if at any point in the future it is not, then the course of action would be to suggest that the people need to address the issues with the roadway commissioners, who's a select board, the DPW superintendent, who is the driveway permit, and oversees that with safety, and the conservation agent to handle any issues with siltation into the wetlands in the ditch.
Okay,
Okay, you like that?
no, I don't like it.
Trying to,
And,
there's so many issues to address.
right, the whole back.
God bless Jen for
The
typing.
whole last paragraph can be handled without our saying so. So if the conditions change, then, is that correct?
You can't.
ask him that.
You know, it's,
Right, so I don't think it's necessary, but if you want to, then you want to be in. And then you say reconsider, but we're not reconsidering, we're actually voting.
voting today, and
Okay,
it'll be in a reconsideration of the change of the condition at the site. The reasons we voted that have changed, they're not the same, so we can vote that there's not a need to enforce
okay,
the decision from a year ago.
is that okay with you, Jen? It is? I second that motion. Any discussion, in the board? All in favor of that, motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
4-0.
2. Reassert allegations from the previous application of 4/6/2023 related to 3 issues.
No longer applicable.
I would make a motion that these this application, these applications are not applicable at this time. They're
Second.
already, yeah.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
You vote,
Aye, yeah, so.
and let's do.
3, revoke the occupancy permit until the above issues are resolved.
Issues have been resolved.
So.
I make a motion that we do not revoke the occupancy permit.
Second.
So,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
Further discussion, no. All in favor, aye?
All right, who made the motion?
You did.
Yeah, I did, didn't I?
It's been like a career end tally to see who made the most motions.
Yeah,
and
Paul,
seconded
you
those.
seconded?
No, Rick seconded.
Rick got in there on that one?
I can never get in.
He's our official seconder.
Yeah, but you seconded the first 2, right?
Well, I did.
And 4,
I was out of line.
costs and fees for this matter, I make a motion that it's inappropriate for the zoning board to assign costs and fees.
Second.
Is it appropriate? I don't know.
I
I don't know what the right.
Well, yeah.
I don't know how we can address that.
make a motion that's not applicable for us to assign costs and fees to anybody, because
Second.
In favor, 5. Oh.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we, I think you're right, I don't know, do we need to ask legal counsel what, like,
Motion is,
what's better?
Anybody second it?
Yeah.
Are we still?
Yeah, I did it.
Who seconded it?
Rick,
Jeez, very fast. All right,
and the vote is all in favor of that motion, aye.
aye.
Three,
I'll abstain, because I don't know where it's going.
three and then one abstain.
I don't know. Of a board that can assign damages.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
that, that's usually a judge and jury. Issue.
Well. Thank everybody for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the kindness and civility.
Thank you for bringing these files, man, really appreciate it. Save my bacon.
It's a great planning board to say. Sorry.
Well, there were a lot of issues, and in all due respect, I'm trying to make sure we look at everything that people have concerns about. You know, I, trust me, in all fairness, more than you know, I've been down there, and I think he knows who I am by looking on his camera. So, and that's why I'm growing a beard, no, I'm just joking. I actually do, I do go down there quite a bit.
You were sued by the planning board.
All right, so now I have to remind you guys.
Because we,
Are we still going?
because we
Still
didn't
going?
follow our
Jen
decision.
has a little one at home, we have some other
Right?
things on the agenda. so-
We,
I was sued by the planning board, I know,
So
as you were.
respectfully,
As was he.
respectfully,
Just you and me.
respectfully, if there
Wasn't there?
are any further issues. Okay, I knew it, but I had forgotten over time, the select board is the roadway commissioners. You have an issue in that roadway, that's a safety icing in the winter, DPW superintendent, conservation.
Not my problem anymore, you decided,
Well,
it's the town's,
it's
it's on the town.
it's on the town, but if you have an issue
Yes, it
there,
is.
those people are the ones who have the direct oversight over
It's on the town, it's not us,
okay,
thank you.
but
I reread the comments on it, he can't put salt on that driveway,
Oh, no, he has to, it's not safe,
he can't, it's against the.
it's gonna go right into the wetland there and
No,
so I did look up,
you got to.
I did look up recently, and it sold, to the, it went to the Gormans, I just happened, you know, I looked these things up. And it stayed in the family recently, and that,
Right.
Yeah,
so I think they plan to stay there,
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course,
so it's,
Yeah.
that's not the issue,
yeah, I know.
I'm the one
Yes.
fighting with.
no, safety
I-
is
I-
still an issue.
We heard your concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where you going, sir?
So when do you come around with the side?
oh, all right, yeah, I'm thinking of retiring in March, so maybe I will.
Oh, you're
kidding.
kidding, great, I can sit down. All right, I'm
Are
out.
you gonna be on both this and the assessors?
I don't know if they,
On the assessors?
I mean, I won, yeah, I won the election on that,
One
so.
big-
You're on the
Kind of, I
assessing
think
board?
the only,
You're on the board of assessors?
yeah,
He
Awesome,
ran unopposed.
there you
And
well,
then-
kind of, it wasn't totally
But
unopposed.
then
go. Hang on now,
somebody
then,
comes up on a.
we have the agenda here, I'm just taking from my
It
phone.
wasn't totally unopposed, it was.
No.
I have it.
Are you
All right,
on
so we've gone through
ballot?
one
I
and
was on
two.
that, but there was writing
But you're not on
I did
ballot
print out
next
the-
week.
next week.
There's an election.
No, yeah, no, I know, so.
So you have all
No,
the,
that's.
green cards, right?
Kamala
I will-
Harris, I'm not on that.
I don't know whether I have one from that meeting, but I will continue when I get my stuff up in the attic.
So you need alternates, Patrick was saying, huh? Now we go.
After this one, probably a full-time member too, cause I'm about ready. to
You're getting
retire.
Me
exhausted.
too.
No, you can't,
No, I said years ago I want to retire.
no, you can't, I told him before the meeting, you're chairman for life, we voted you
I
in.
know, it's a. heck of a
Patrick seems to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
No,
He does.
so
he
Bill,
does.
I'm
You
just
know
an
why?
old guy.
Because he knows what he's doing.
Not really.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bill, and I'm sorry it got a little, I tried to stop it anytime it went off the rails.
You know, it's not bad, and these guys,
I think they actually get along
they
okay.
get along fine, the communication isn't always the best, but they get along fine. We all have to do, We all do our jobs.
Did you represent them in land court or somebody else?
Yeah, you
I
didn't,
I ghost represented in land court.
okay,
Like,
you
wrote,
yeah.
yeah.
So, I mean, they were completely correct the first time.
Yeah.
Cause I went back and watched the, video of the planning board meeting and they even discussed the issue and they knew they were going over, they knew they were going into the mud.
He bullied the planning board, I think.
You're
So-
flagged.
Hmm?
You're flagged.
No, the other people,
Yeah.
to approve it the first time. But then they went back at it,
I
they
kind of thought
went
that's
back
what
and
happened
did
with
it,
Sam this time.
they did it correctly the next time, so. But,
This one's due minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes, yeah.
you're taking off, where'd Rick go?
Good night.
Take care.
Night.
So the more important thing I'd like to go out of order was, discussion regarding a workshop. Jen had a bunch of 3 Wednesdays lined up. And they were in November. One is the 6th. I remember offhand.
6:13 for 20 minutes.
All right. So Jen, I can't think of enough for. Those motions there's so many, yeah, that's even gonna be better, right? So we get it right, it's been hard in the past, without the video, and without somebody typing, it's actually right, especially with the details.
So I'm sorry, the dates, 6/13/20?
Yes.
November 6th, 13, and 20, like 7 o'clock or something, and it was, training.
What time of day?
7 o'clock at night, like a normal meeting.
And how long do you think, like an hour or so, until they beat some sense into us? It was a joke, so it's like,
Well, if we can muzzle you.
yeah, well, I have to speak for you, I try to talk with both of us, you're so quiet, but. If I say anything wrong, you guys tell me. I'll be the one that gets in trouble for this one. Oh. Okay. Does the 6th, the 13th, or the 20th work for you guys at all? I think the 6th for me is a little bit. Too close, I got a lot
Trickier.
going on next week.
Close to the election, huh?
It's next week,
I won't be in town.
okay, and then the 13th,
13th
or the 20th?
20th is fine.
No 13th for you?
No,
20th?
13
Is that the
okay.
Wednesday for what
I could do
Thanksgiving?
either.
No, that's.
I'm okay any day.
Okay.
It's the week before, yes, 10 days before this year.
The 20th?
So I could do 13 or 20.
I prefer the 20th, if you guys don't mind.
Not a thing. I like the 13th and you can all celebrate my
So do
birthday.
we have to vote that? No,
I don't think so.
It's not a- it's just an agenda thing, okay. Thank you for putting that
Yeah.
together with things.
Ken, you wanna tell Kim it's the 13th?
Huh?
You wanna tell Kim it's the 13th?
Are we doing it 13th or the 20th?
20th,
Oh, 20th?
Yeah, I'll email Kim and I'll let Tom know.
Okay.
all right, so then we had meeting minutes. The one for the last meeting. I didn't go back and look at the video, but I just had that there was an issue with the sentence that Patrick wanted to see it clean. That was the one thing I thought was a little bit.
He said something about he wanted to make sure that, you know, we had all the information to have a clean vote.
Okay, so it doesn't say vote after, it just says Patrick's.
It might have been a typo.
Yeah, so I think if we could just go check what's in the video and maybe edit it to whatever was said, and I think it's on the second page.
Does anybody know why the 0 Slave Road got withdrawn?
I'm sorry?
No,
Why is it called the 0 Slave Road?
I think they're looking at other options.
Yeah, he's trying to have time to think about what he wants to do to move forward.
So he may go before the planning board, he may come right back before us
But
again.
I don't think he can come back here for another 2 years.
No, he
unless
can't.
Unless there's a substantial change in the request, or there's a change in.
No, they withdrew it without prejudice, so
Yeah, okay. I'll
we didn't vote on it, we never,
That's
so
true,
if we
that's
voted on it, They couldn't, and we denied something, they couldn't go back for 2 years, that's my understanding.
That is correct.
And that's a good thing, write that down and have that be one of the questions to check with, town council. But, where they withdrew it without prejudice, because we had,
That is
a
right.
year ago, we had a case on, 40 Maple Street. We had 2 hearings,
Mhm.
they withdrew the application without prejudice. And then they came back in January and we had 3 hearings, and then we voted.
So, yeah, because we had a similar situation in Salisbury, but
Yeah.
they bounced back and forth about what they wanted to do, and then they ended up getting a denial, but I was misremembering how that went.
So,
You are correct,
You
yes.
get 1-page, decisions,
Well, I will show you, it is a fillable PDF form, it is one page.
is that the right way to go?
I will tell you.
Do they have any appeals or?
They
legal
get, I
appeals?
mean, it's,
Yeah.
Salisbury, they are appealed
Yeah.
quite frequently,
Yeah.
and the courts frequently uphold the decision.
Wow, okay, so what you see is, I'm too detail oriented person, type C. And when I've been doing the minutes and doing the decisions, I put everything in there. And I try to put all the findings of fact, why we did it, and then it's like, it goes on, it's like.
I can show you some of the cheat sheets that they use and stuff like that, and you guys
so-
can decide if it's something you wanna start using.
If
It's totally up to you.
we minimally I've gone to CPC. Like every so often, just for a refresher, and in case there's any changes, but it's
And if you want, you can bring some of that stuff to the workshop and see
Sure.
if, I mean, it's the same from council anyway.
Yeah, sure. Okay. All right, yeah, so for me, the minutes were fine, except I had that one issue just for agenda check, so. Did you guys have time to review the minutes that she sent to us? Is one of the attachments, yeah,
Probably not.
yeah, it didn't go, I skimmed through it real quick, I think it caught the. Majority.
So that was Rick Parker that left.
Yes,
Yeah, select board member.
Now he's got the two mixed up, not when I see.
yeah, so that's Rick Parker that was here at the corner,
Yeah.
came in for the first half hour, and then that was Richard Baker.
And
And
what he read still,
I actually think that's Lisa Mingo, her maiden name was Mingo. right?
oh, that's right, that's right.
The Mingos used to have a big farm in town.
And we have
cattle.
Wendy Reed and Adam, somebody, still online.
Adam is, the person who does the, West Newbury cable.
West Newbury Cable, okay, for the YouTube.
Does that mean this is on?
Yes, It's still
It's
taping.
recorded, yeah, and then he'll put it up on YouTube after. it's done.
everything is still getting recorded because we haven't adjourned the meeting yet. There's a good reminder for you.
Are we voting on the August, or are we waiting for the edit?
I would approve it with any suggested edits. Or edited, you're just clarifying like a couple of words, I think that's reasonable to edit.
We vote to do that?
I'm just waiting, Dennis is still looking through, so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, go ahead and make a motion then, I'm done enough talking.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from August.
Second.
With edit?
With that,
With that.
thank you,
Yeah.
thank you,
As amended, whatever.
thank you.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
You vote aye. Go Chairman.
Aye. With edits. And that was August, right? Okay, and then, I don't think we're gonna set another meeting up unless we have to.
So a couple of things, I did give you the September 11th minutes. For
Oh.
review.
Okay,
which was-
oh yeah, that was fine, there's a little quick
Yeah, it
one.
was like,
Yeah, I make a motion to approve these. What was the date?
September 11th.
9/11, that's right.
Yeah. Second.
Meeting minutes, I think without edits, but
That was just an extension, right?
yeah.
Move the second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right,
4-0.
I did want
to discuss one other thing.
Yeah.
Which was setting up a calendar for 2025 of meeting dates. If we set up the meeting dates, we don't actually need to meet. If there's no applications, no reason to meet, we can cancel the meeting, no problem. But at least this way, when it comes to scheduling things, we don't have to go through what we went through last month of like, okay, who's here, who's not, and that. So I can make that, if you guys decide you wanna meet once a month, twice a month, if you wanna meet the second and fourth Wednesday, first and third, whatever you wanna do, just let me know, and then I can generate a calendar for next year.
Okay, and that reserves the room for us too, in case we need it, which is important.
About third Wednesday,
Third Wednesday, you wanna meet once a month, third Wednesday?
each month, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
By default, that's a good thing, and then if we get exceptions, we get exceptions.
Yeah, and then once I have the calendar, you guys can vote on it.
But then we wouldn't have to like talk and say, hey, we just go to the next meeting for a
Yeah.
hearing. Cause it'll be scheduled. Wow, that's like a first, John, and I think years ago, they used to have a meeting scheduled.
Yeah.
No, not really, even 20 years ago?
Well, probably even 30 years.
No, okay.
We had to come to horse and carriage, it was tough. But the streetcar that went down the street, you remember the streetcar?
I take, I have COPD and I
You
have
obviously are much older than I
taking
am.
Claritin every day now. This week I had to take 2.
And just, thinking ahead, we're maintaining Zoom. Is the town doing that for all meetings going forward?
Yeah.
Until it's,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and they may extend it or
And
they
it helps, cause then it's recorded and it's
Yeah.
up on YouTube, and then I can go back and
check it.
get
Yeah, it's-
clarification
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
So that's another question I want for the attorney would be where we had to revisit a previous vote. I think you could either vote, we just voted not to enforce that decision
Yeah.
anymore because the site conditions changed.
Yeah.
So I think that is appropriate, but there's things where you could revoke or rescind the previous vote.
Right.
I believe any board can revisit something if they feel the conditions have changed. So that's something I'll definitely ask the attorney. I've never had to do that
So it
before.
will be Robin's time.
Oh, right, Robin's been really nice, yeah. So. Okay, and then are you good with everything? Okay, I make a motion to adjourn and profusely thank Jen for taking down
Okay, Jen.
and organizing this all.
Huh? Second, say it, second.
I'll second that.
Oh, second by the.
Here's your folders back, thank you.
All
so
in
much for
favor,
bringing
say
it.
aye,
Aye,
Aye.
board member.
I didn't even begin.